The UEFA Champions League is the pinnacle of club football. Every year we get to see the best teams in Europe compete for the ultimate prize, the Champions League trophy. This tournament has produced some of the most electrifying games and moments that the sport has ever witnessed, but things are about to drastically change. With the 2024-25 Champions League season comes a new tournament format that is controversial to say the least and equally as confusing to many fans of the game. Today we take a look at how this year's Champions League season will unfold, as well as what I think of these changes and what this means for the future of the competition. For better or for worse, there's no denying that the Champions League will never be the same. The UEFA Champions League has been around for over 30 years, with the modern version of the competition starting in 1992-93. It went through a lot of changes in its first decade, and the 2003-04 edition was the beginning of what most of us know as the standard Champions League format. Here's a very quick refresher on how it's worked for the last 20 years. 32 teams from Europe qualify for the Champions League, and they are split into 8 groups of 4. They play each team in their group twice, once at home and once away, meaning each team in the group stage plays 6 games. After those 6 games, the top 2 teams in each group advance to the knockout rounds. From there, each team plays another team in a double leg style matchup, once at home and once away, until the final. The final is contested at a neutral venue, and the winner of that match is crowned the Champions League winner for that season. It's a format that has worked very well over the last 20 years, but this season UEFA has decided to change it completely. I'm going to do my best to explain it as simply as possible, but it truly is all over the place, so stick with me here. The biggest change in this year's Champions League is the amount of teams that will qualify and the format of the competition itself. Instead of the 32-team group stage featuring 8 groups of 4 teams, the Champions League will have 36 teams that will compete in a league phase. Instead of facing 3 other teams like we're all accustomed to, teams will now be playing against 8 different opponents with 4 home games and 4 away games. To determine the 8 different opponents, teams will initially be ranked in 4 seeding pots. Each team will then be drawn to play 2 opponents from each of these pots, playing 1 match against a team from each pot at home and 1 away. Are you still with me? Because trust me, we're only getting started. With the new league ranking system comes 3 distinct areas of the table. Positions 1 through 8 are highlighted in green, positions 9 through 24 are highlighted in yellow, and positions 25 to 36 are highlighted in red. The green tier is for the top 8 teams in the standings after all 8 matches, who automatically qualify for the next phase of the competition. The yellow tier is for the 16 teams who find themselves in the middle of the table and must continue fighting for their spot in the competition. And finally, the red tier is for the 12 teams who finish at the bottom of the table and are eliminated from all European competitions for the remainder of the season. The more I explain this new format, the more I miss the old one. Alright, so the top 8 teams advance, the middle 16 teams have to fight for their spot in the competition, and the bottom 12 teams are gone for good. What comes next? The knockout rounds will now start with a knockout phase playoff before the round of 16, meaning that the top 8 teams get a bye before facing their next opponent. Remember those teams that all finish between 9th and 24th? They're not all technically equal, as the teams that finish between 9th and 16th will face off against a team placed between 17th to 24th. Once the teams are established, they will all play a 2-legged tie, and the winner of that tie will move on to the round of 16 to face one of the top 8 teams. From the round of 16 onwards, the competition will follow its existing format of the 2-legged knockout rounds, leading to the final, which will be staged at a neutral venue. So long story short, we're moving from a 32-team group stage format to a 36-team league phase format. It truly is a dramatic shift from what we're all used to, and it's a big enough change that makes me want to voice my opinion on it. Before I do a deep dive on what I think about this format, here's something I found while doing research for this video. If you go on UEFA's website and read the article that explains this new format, you'll eventually get to this little paragraph at the very end. How will the new Champions League format benefit the European game? And here's the funniest part. The changes made are designed to secure the positive future of European football at every level and meet the evolving needs of all of its stakeholders. Wait, let's read that once more. The evolving needs of all of its stakeholders. UEFA is literally admitting that this change is being made to benefit their pockets, as well as the pockets of everyone who has invested in this competition. This change isn't being made to improve the competition or enhance the level of football being played, but rather to increase the overall revenue that this tournament generates. And that's what really bothers me about this whole thing. It's the players who make football interesting and fun to watch, but it's the fans who elevate the experience and who bring a passion that can't be compared to domestic competitions. It just feels like this is a gut punch to the fans who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, euros, or pounds to watch their favorite teams play in order to benefit from the greed and lust for money that the big investors can't seem to get enough of. But enough about that, let's get into what I think about the future of the Champions League. I think it's unfair to completely bash this new concept without giving it somewhat of a chance, so here's what I like about this idea. I like that UEFA is trying something new. Whether you believe that the Champions League is still the elite club competition in the world or that it has lost its spark, there's no denying that the media has been pushing an anti-Champions League narrative over the past few years. And with the disaster that came after the European Super League idea a few years ago, I have to give UEFA credit for trying something new. Even if you think a competition might be perfect, change is always welcomed when it's done right. I also believe that while the format isn't perfect, the idea of seeing your favorite team play 8 different teams in the group stage rather than the 3 that we're used to is great. Some variety will be a breath of fresh air to see in the group stage, and I think that there will be many surprises along the way. But in terms of good things to say, that's about all I can think of. Here's what I don't like about this new format. First off, I don't think that increasing the number of teams is a good idea. One of the things that makes the Champions League special is the fact that the best clubs in Europe and arguably the best clubs in the world are facing off against one another. Adding 4 more teams just adds more potential for games that seem like filler rather than high-octane matchups between heavyweights. Take Bologna for example. No disrespect to them in any way, they worked incredibly hard to finish in 5th place in Serie A last season. But do I really want to see a team that finished 5th in their league, 26 points off the top spot, compete for European glory? Personally, I don't think so. And second, the whole knockout phase playoff before the round of 16 is a turnoff for all the wrong reasons. If you have a difficult draw and you know that you can still make the round of 16 by finishing 24th in a 36-team league as long as you come out on top in a 2-legged playoff, I feel like it takes away from the competitiveness of certain matches. There will definitely be a few teams who will aim to get in that second tier to have a chance at qualifying for the next round, whereas in the traditional format, anything but your absolute best knocks you out of the competition. And I have a strong feeling that by the time we reach the quarterfinals, it'll look very similar to the teams that we're used to seeing in the regular format anyways. The Champions League is changing and there's nothing we can do about it. There's definitely some good things that will come out of this, but there's also a lot of adverse effects that could also happen. Everything in this video is more or less hypothetical because until we see how the first season with this new format plays out, there's no telling whether it'll be good, great, or downright bad. I want to be optimistic and give this format a chance, and part of me will, but a larger part of me will be missing the old format that produced so many great memories over the years. But what do you think of the new Champions League format? Do you love it, do you hate it, or do you not really care for it that much? Leave your thoughts in the comments below as I'm very curious to see what the general opinion is on this massive change. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.